So real quick, so you think you would have Kobe ahead of Tim Duncan as far as the player of the 2000s by far because you think that the Spurs could have won more and they didn't win more.
I think Shaq is the player of the 2000s.
A argument, no.
Shaq is the player
A argument,
of the 2000s.
no. A
Shaq
argument
is the
could
player
be
of the 2000s.
no.
Yes, he
no.
is.
A argument could be made.
Yes,
no.
he is.
A argument could
Kobe
be.
Kobe won his 5th ring in 2010. That's not the 2000s.
I'm thinking split between Kobe and Duncan.
Shaq.
I think
Shaq,
because I think
three rings,
because I
three
think
Finals MVPs. Actually, 3 rings. Yes, sorry, 3 rings. I'm sorry, 4 rings, 3 Finals MVPs. Yes, give me Shaq. Period.
Yeah,
and he had his most dominant era during that era. Yes, give me Shaq.
but Tim Duncan has what?
I don't mean disrespect to nobody. I don't mean any disrespect to nobody, but if we're gonna start doing that, then you're gonna have to start throwing centers in greatest player of all time conversation.
They already
because I feel like Tim Duncan. I feel like
already are.
Well, then we shouldn't even be discussing anything because it was Kareem, Shaq.
Kareem always in my conversation.
Yeah, Kareem always in the conversation.
My conversation.
Yeah. Kareem. If I rank my top 5, to me, Kareem is second on my list. I just personally think when you look at and Kareem, arguably, if somebody older than me wants to tell me Kareem is the greatest basketball player that they've ever seen play, I'm not gonna argue with him because his basketball resume is wide.
Yeah, and to be honest, I haven't seen enough. I've seen like the documentaries and I've seen everything, but like I feel like watching it live is a completely different emotion that'll give you, like seeing that for the first time.
I agree.
Seeing him actually break people down and be like, oh, what is he doing? Like, there's nobody who does that. Like when he.
I mean, honestly, go back and watch old Laker games. There's still nobody who does what Kareem does. There's nobody who does what Kareem does. Never seen a player play like him. Go back and watch old Magic games. I'm sorry, not old Magic game. Old Laker games. They're available on YouTube. Just search like whatever Lakers versus whatever team you want to see full game, and watch an old Kareem game. There's nobody that plays like him. Period. Still. But go ahead. I'm just saying that for everybody that's listening to this too.
Go and watch game 2 of the finals against the Celtics. After they said he was washed up, after they said he couldn't play no more, hurt. They were saying he was old, he couldn't play anymore, and he came out and just dropped up. Like, you don't do that if you're not one of the greatest. You can't just. I feel like that switch to players have like really makes a difference for when you're really looking at players. And I don't know, Kobe's switch goes higher than everybody else.
I'm saying Shaq for the 2000s. Shaq for the 2000s will have 4 rings, 3 Finals MVPs, an MVP. He was an All-Star 8 times out of those. I'm sorry, 9 times out of those 10 years. All-Star MVP 3 times during that decade. All-NBA first team 6 times during that decade. Second team, he wasn't. Third team, he was once. And All-NBA defensive team second team, he was 3 times during that decade. And
he never made a first team all defense?
No. And he
ever?
Was nope. And he was also scoring champ in 2000. No, he was second team 3 times.
Duncan.
Why don't we ever just
give me Shaq?
Why don't we ever discuss all the players that Shaq played with the same way that we talk about?
The same way we talk about who?
Shaq. We talk about how LeBron won championships. He had to have Dwayne Wade. He had to have Kyrie. He had to have Ray Allen. Blah blah. Why don't we ever discuss like all the like Shaq didn't get a championship without another player?
Yeah, but usually the players that he was. But Shaq wasn't a player that played with a bunch of other Hall of Famers. It was usually only one other Hall of Famer that he was playing with on that team. LeBron has had a. Don't look at it. Who else? Who? I'm asking you, Pavy. When they won, who was the other Hall of Famers?
Played with Kobe. Like who you?
Okay, what that means?
You need other ones.
Playing with Kyrie, Kevin Love, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh. Shaq only played with Chris Bosh.
I'm just saying,
and an old
the
Gary
team
Payton.
that Shaq played for, he didn't win a championship.
Hold on, you
yes,
froze.
But also,
and he also averaged 20 and 10 that year.
Yes, but also at that time, bro, teams didn't have like 3 All-Stars. It was a very rare thing for teams to have 3 All-Stars. You usually only had about 2, like early 2000s, maybe 2 on each team. It wasn't like teams were just stacked the way they are now. In general, they just weren't stacked the way they are now. In general, that's just how it is. Usually,
they had 3 All-Stars.
Actually, no. On the team they had 2.
None of them years.
No.
Oh damn, my bad.
Had
I thought Rodman was All-Star one of them years. That's sad.
No.
That's
Rodman
that's also why when people tell me Shaq didn't have no competition to play against, he did have competition to play against.
not
Especially
really
in the
when he
90s.
hit his prime.
He really did. In the 90s,
In the 90s,
he did.
In the 90s, he did. But in the
90s, he did. He
But
took
when he
his
hit it,
lumps. He took his lumps, but he still averaged what he averaged and did what he did. And then when it came time for him to win, he went and he won.
yeah, but in the 2000s, it really like the early
Both
2000s,
y'all-
there were really
Patty,
no
you froze.
other. I did.
Yeah.
But in the early 2000s, there were really no other centers when
Turn off your video. Turn it on again.
when Shaq hit his peak.
Yeah.
Who was that big? Who could really guard him? Like there was no other centers in the league that you could at least one up on him.
Yeah. True.
He won it in the league.
Hold on. I'm finna remove Pavy and see if we can add Pavy back in here. Go ahead. Keep talking. My bad.
I would have loved to have like Shaq go up against some of the other big men. Like at least
Welcome
Shaq
back, Pavy.
grow up in the era.
Pavy, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead. My bad, Josh.
I would have just loved to have seen Shaq play in like the big man era, like actual go up against the other big men of the craft.
He did.
And
In the
lost.
90s.
He didn't go up against Dr. J, Kareem.
Dr. J wasn't no
Cool.
big man. We talking about Wilt and Russell? Damn.
Wilt.
That sounds somebody got power
Wilt,
bombed.
Russell. Play. I want to see him body somebody who could body him back. I really feel like in the '80s, Bill Laimbeer would have thrown an elbow across his jaw.
Boy, Shaq
Gee,
might have hurt
what?
that man.
He put that man
Shaq,
in the hospital.
hold on, wait. We can hold on,
Shaq
wait.
almost murdered Brad Miller. Y'all, y'all gotta stop.
Come on,
G.
y'all gotta
How old are
relax
you,
with
Josh?
that.
We need to know. How old are you, Josh?
31.
G, how are you saying this, G? You got to see some of Shaq, G. You got to see some of prime Shaq, G. How are you saying this? You sound like one of these young monks out here.
I agree with the fact.
You just threw Brad Miller at me.
No,
I agree
I said
with
he
the fact-
punched that man in the. I said he almost murdered that man. I'm talking about physically punching that man in the face. I'm
I
talking
agree.
about. Go ahead, Pavy.
I personally agree with the fact that yes, when Shaq hit his peak, obviously there just weren't that many centers in the league. Like in the early 2000s, I mean, he played fucking Tom McCullough, Rick Smith, and Mutombo. He didn't even catch prime Mutombo. Even though Mutombo did win a DYOP that year, Mutombo was like 31. That wasn't 31, 33. That wasn't like it was Hawks Mutombo or Nuggets Mutombo. So when Shaq hit his peak, there were a lack of bigs in the league, though. Really it was Shaq and then went to Ben Wallace and then Dwight. Other than that, who else? That was a center that was good at that point in time in the league.
Bro, he played like 8 years in the 90s.
No, I'm saying, but when Shaq hit his peak, as in his peak and started winning, that was when all of those great centers had faded,
Shaq.
and he was the only one left.
I honestly would argue that would be harder. That actually is harder to do.
Wow, he was younger than all of them. He was younger than all of them.
I would argue that it's harder to do because the league was starting to change and it was going away from where your offense was. So for you to still be that dominant over that period, I would argue that it's actually harder.
It's changed from what?
What do you mean it changed from what?
It started changing from what?
In the 2000s, it went to more like guard ISO ball. It did. That's why y'all love to say all the big men was gone in the 2000s because it literally went to like.
There also just weren't that many. But there weren't that many good ones. There just weren't that many good ones. And that's not exactly true. You still had Ducky, you still had KG.
There was nobody at that side.
And David
there were a lot of fours
for a little bit.
Yes, he was, but still, Robinson.
Saying, G, it wasn't completely nobody out there when Shaq was playing.
There was
Shaq
had no. Shaq had no like. It's not like in
the Admiral.
It wasn't really no shooting guards out there when Kobe was playing, but we don't.
I disagree with that.
Argument against that.
Highly disagree with that. Ooh. You mean in the early 2000s or like later on?
In the early 2000s.
You're wrong. T-Mac, you had Iverson, you had Carter, you had Ray Allen.